In attacking the towers of the World Trade Center, the terrorists succeeded in destroying the two tallest symbols of New York City. They may or may not be rebuilt, but either way, the spirit they represented will not fade, as Richard Schlesinger will now show you.
From the very beginning, the twins were stars. In 1972, a student filmmaker named Gary Kaskell was so fascinated with the construction of the 110-story buildings, he made this movie about them. The film, like the towers and the city they once dominated, is loud and brassy and hard to ignore. Grandstanders and headline grabbers have always known one shortcut to the front page ran up the sides of these towers. Mountain climbers inched up to the top. Before he did this man was known to only a few people as George Willig. After this, he was known by millions as the human fly.
Have you ever climbed another building? No.
Would you like to climb another building?
I don't know. I'll find out.
Then there was Philippe Petit, who thought it would be fun to dance on a wire between the two towers.
When I see a beautiful place to put my wire, I cannot resist.
He was arrested. The human fly was fined. All the stunts that took place at the towers were illegal, but they were never evil until last week, when the tower's very size made them a target. There are a lot of numbers to describe how big the Twin Towers were, and even by New York standards, they are impressive. 50,000, the number of people who work there every day. There are towns in America that aren't that big. 10048, the zip code assigned just to the Twin Towers. And thousands upon thousands, the number of photographs Jay Maisel has taken of them.
It was New York. This is what New York was about. This was like, here I am, the Twin Towers, like me or not, you're going to see me from every place in the city.
Maisel has photographed them in every season, at every time of day, and in every kind of light.
They acted as, beautiful objects in the center of an environment. They turned red, they turned gold, they turned silver. Sometimes they were just white, and then they were incredible. And a very amazing quality when all the lights were on, too. And some people would ask me, how do you get them to turn all the lights on at once? That's when they were glowing gold. Sometimes they would just disappear, and the very, very tops of them would show.
The Twin Towers were Maisel's neighbors for their entire lives. His home is not far from where they lived and died. Last Tuesday, he watched from his rooftop.
At the moment I looked out, I saw this obscene orange and black blooming thing, like a flower. And it's very hard to realize what I was looking at. Afterwards, I just kept shooting. That's all I could do. They could have taken out the Statue of Liberty. That would have been a better symbol. But they couldn't cause as much heartbreak.
Only rarely has there been as much heartbreak as now. The very numbers that once made the towers so great, the number of floors they tolerated, the number of people they accommodated, now make the tragedy so much greater.
And I've looked out the window for 35 years at these things, and I loved them, and they were beautiful to me. And they're not there. They're just not there.
Richard Schlesinger. Now to Bob Schieffer in Washington for a look at what's ahead on Face the Nation. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Charles. We have an expanded version of Face the Nation this morning because we're going to cover this story from every conceivable angle. We're going to start with Secretary of State Colin Powell. We'll hear from New York Senators Chuck Schumer and Hillary Rodham Clinton. We'll hear from the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Joe Biden. We'll call in our CBS News correspondents from around the world, including Pakistan. We'll have analysis and all of the latest developments.
Thank you, Bob Schieffer. We will be watching. Ahead, Jerry Bowen on those we've lost.
Sunday morning, winter day. Breakfast time, they're on their way. They can smell the cinnamon.
Nothing brings my family to the table like these grand cinnamon rolls from Pillsbury. You know, they're not just ordinary cinnamon rolls, they're grands.
Yeah, who can resist that cinnamon kiss from my heart to yours?
Our guarantee is our promise.
If you're not happy with your glasses, you can bring them back. No questions.
That's what LensCrafters' 30-day money-back guarantee is all about.
Pete Sampras knows about One-A-Day's new active multivitamin with more B vitamins and ginseng to enhance energy. One-A-Day. Get active, stay active.
Meet Professor Max Bickford.
I think I deserve better than a B+.
He's dedicated his life to education.
Every time you open your mouth, I'm going to lower your grade.
We could have you fired.
C-.
Stop it!
D+.
But next Sunday, a new professor.
Who is that? She was a student of mine 15 years ago.
Will give him an education of his own.
You're just threatened because I've actually written books more than 5 people have read.
Oscar winners Richard Dreyfuss and Marcia Gay Harden.
It's not going to be a problem for you now that I'm here, is it?
The Education of Max Bickford premieres CBS next Sunday.
When we speak of the victims of this week's atrocity, we must be careful not to leave the impression that they are simply people who have died. As Jerry Bowen reminds us, we do them far greater honor by remembering them as people who lived.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
There are heavy hearts all across America this Sunday morning. In the mountain town of Moorhead, Kentucky, where friends and family mourned 26-year-old Edward Earhart. Navy officer Earhart was in the Pentagon that awful Tuesday morning.
He is unaccounted for. At this point in time, we're holding on to any hope in hopes that God will deliver him back to us. If not, keep him in the palm of his hand.
Late yesterday, the Pentagon confirmed Edward Earhart is among the dead. In San Francisco, they remembered Tom Burnett. He was on the United jet that was forced down in Pennsylvania. In a last call home, Burnett said he and others were going to try to stop the hijackers. He leaves behind a wife and 3 young daughters.
The whole country is mourning with us, and that is some help.
In Ames, Iowa, Doug and Betty Havlin believe they have lost their son, Tim. Tim Havlin was on the 96th floor of the 2nd World Trade Tower to be attacked. They grieve also for their daughter-in-law, Tim's wife, Amy.
Poor Amy, she has the extra burden. Her brother is a New York City fireman, and he went in to work and was sent down there, and he too is missing. So she's had a double whammy, her husband and her brother.
So many missing and dead. Tom McGinnis, the co-pilot on American Airlines Flight 11, the first jet to hit the World Trade Center. Paige Farley Hackle of Boston, a passenger on the plane. She was headed to Los Angeles to meet her friend Ruth McCourt. Ruth McCourt and her 4-year-old daughter Juliana of New London, Connecticut. They were on the United flight that slammed into the 2nd tower. Improbably, there is even more. Ruth's brother was on the tower's ground floor and escaped. David McCourt is in despair for his wife.
She was loving. She always had a smile. She tried to help.
And for Juliana.
She was taken from us because of hate, because of war, and she was the antithesis of this. Why was she involved in this? She didn't do any harm. I can't, at this point, process this. It's so painful.
David McCourt is starting a foundation in Juliana's name to teach children to love, not hate.
Now hold that.
Gina Corcoran got married yesterday in Los Angeles. Her mother, Ellen, was there. Her stepfather, Neil, was not.
He would not want her to stop the wedding.
Neil Mariana had taken a separate flight to California, the hijacked United flight that hit the Trade Center tower. Lisa Frost was also on the plane, coming home to California to start a new job, a new life, said her father, Tom.
My wife and I are just missing our daughter, and we give everything back just to have her back.
And Melissa Hughes, in New York on business, in the North Trade Center tower. She left a haunting voicemail for her husband, Sean, back in San Francisco.
Sean, it's me. I just wanted to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. A plane hit the building or a bomb went off, we don't know, but there's lots of smoke, and he just wanted you to know that I love you always.
America. They are the human faces on the unthinkable tragedy, and there are thousands and thousands more like them. And for too many families across America this Sunday morning, there is a grief that is almost unbearable.
From sea to shining sea.
The Home Depot is driving down the cost of home improvement. Great appliance savings are on at the Home Depot. Have no payments and no interest if paid by March 2002 with your Home Depot consumer credit card. Use it on brand name appliances like this 17.6 cubic foot GE refrigerator for only $398. Or this super capacity Maytag washer for just $399. The best brands, all at the guaranteed low price. For great savings, turn to the Home Depot.
Shocking tragedies have occurred and America is in mourning. A long period of uncertainty and recovery awaits us all. The American Red Cross is providing life-saving assistance, including precious blood, food, shelter, and grief counseling. We honor our heroic relief workers, victims, and their families. Please call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE to donate blood or 1-800-HELP-NOW to offer financial support. Together, we can save a life.
Nowhere did the events of this past week hit home as they did in all those communities the dead and missing called home. No one in those places had been left untouched, as Bill Geist can tell you firsthand.
Ridgewood, New Jersey, a small community of old homes, old trees, old values. It's where I live. From here, you can see New York City's skyline 17 miles away. It's a convenient commute to New York's downtown financial district, and every morning hundreds of locals board these trains bound for Wall Street.
Snoop.
Tuesday, many of them did not come home. At least 12 of our Ridgewood neighbors and possibly many more are still missing in the